Everyone who works with AI long enough has at least one unforgettable failure story. Mine wasn't just a technical bug or an ordinary glitch, it was a complete meltdown of assumptions, confidence, and output quality all at once. A perfect storm created by an overlooked detail, a misaligned parameter, and a moment of overconfidence that I should have known better than to let happen. It was the kind of fail where you step back afterward, stare at the mess, and think, how did this happen? How did I not see this coming? This is the full breakdown of my greatest AI fail. How it happened, what led up to it, how I handled the fallout, and the deeper lessons I took from it. It's a story about data, assumptions, pressure, and learning the hard way that AI systems are powerful but fragile. They're brilliant but easily misdirected. They're capable of incredible results, but only when treated with humility, caution, and respect. The setup that looked perfect. The story begins with a project I felt entirely prepared for. I had designed and trained dozens of models up to that point, fine-tuned algorithms, built pipelines, and solved optimization problems that required late nights and endless iterations. This project didn't look any different. If anything, it looked easier. The task was straightforward. Create an AI model that could categorize customer feedback into emotional categories. It was meant to identify frustration, satisfaction, confusion, excitement, and concern in written messages. Companies use systems like this all the time. It wasn't groundbreaking research, it wasn't high-risk experimental work. It was an emotional analysis model that would plug into an existing workflow. To make things even smoother, I already had access to a large labeled dataset, years of archived customer messages, and a robust training pipeline. Everything appeared lined up perfectly. I had a clear objective, clear metrics, and a clear path. The training started smoothly, the validation looked solid, and the early tests suggested excellent accuracy. At every stage, things reinforced my belief that the model would perform flawlessly once deployed. But perfection is always an illusion, and the more confident I became, the more blind I was to the red flags forming quietly beneath the surface. The moment everything collapsed. Deployment day arrived. The model went live. For a few hours, everything looked flawless. It categorized feedback at high speed, produced clean labels, and integrated with the feedback dashboard. The team monitoring the rollout reported no issues. It felt like another successful project wrapped up. Then, everything crashed. Slowly at first, then all at once. A report came in showing a message that read, "Your service ruined my entire week," labeled as satisfied. Another message said, "Please cancel my account immediately. I'm exhausted from dealing with this problem," also labeled satisfied. Someone in the support team joked that the model must be delusionally optimistic. The laughter didn't last long. Within hours, we shut the model down. Everything came to a halt. I had never felt a pit in my stomach like that before. This was not a soft glitch. This was a catastrophic failure of emotional detection at scale. An AI model that couldn't tell happiness from anger is worse than useless. It actively damages customer service, leads to horrible decisions, and misleads entire departments. I didn't know it yet, but the mistake was buried inside the training data. The root of the failure. When something collapses this dramatically, you don't start with the code, you start with the data. And that's where the truth surfaced like a long-forgotten secret. The archived dataset I used had a hidden flaw. The original labeling system from years before didn't categorize emotions based solely on the text of the customer message. Instead, it used the final customer outcome to assign labels. In other words, if the customer was angry at first but the support team resolved the issue successfully, the message was labeled satisfied. If they ended the conversation frustrated, even if the first message was neutral or confused, the entire conversation was labeled frustrated. The system was replicating a bias hidden inside the dataset, and I had deployed it without noticing. This is the moment you realize that models don't learn what you think they're learning. They learn what you give them. And if what you give them is flawed, the model magnifies the flaw into a disaster. The damage control phase. The aftermath was uncomfortable. Meetings were held, reports were filed. I had to walk through point by point how the mistake happened and where my assumptions failed. There were no excuses to fall back on. No one forced me to trust the dataset. No one prevented me from analyzing the labeling pipeline. I had skipped an essential step, verifying the origin and rules behind the labels. Every failure in AI leaves a trail of lessons behind it, but in the moment, the only thing you feel is frustration and embarrassment. I had deployed a system that misread emotions on a large scale. It created confusion among teams that depended on emotional classification to prioritize urgent cases. Managers lost trust in the automated system. Analysts had to manually reevaluate hundreds of messages. And that was the story of my greatest AI fail, a collapse triggered not by a single bug or a faulty algorithm, but by a hidden assumption buried deep inside a dataset. A mistake that reshaped the way I build systems, review data, and evaluate risk. It taught me that AI isn't just math and code, it's trust, responsibility, and constant vigilance. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the human side of AI development, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another story, breakdown, or behind-the-scenes look at the world of artificial intelligence. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.